Lakers Nation, what is going on? Because the Lakers might have another option if this Jonathan Kuminga situation continues to go nowhere, and honestly this might be a move that a lot of Lakers fans are sleeping on. Because what if the Lakers stop chasing Kuminga and instead go after a player who already fits perfectly next to Luka Doncic and Austin Reaves? A player who can shoot. A player who can defend. A player who doesn't need the ball in his hands. And a player who could instantly make this Lakers team more dangerous in the playoffs. I'm talking about Cam Johnson. But there is another name that could make sense too. Christian Braun. And today we gotta talk about why these two Nuggets wings could actually become realistic Lakers targets and which one I believe would be the better fit for Los Angeles. Because this is exactly the type of move the Lakers need to be looking at. The Lakers are trying to build around Luka Doncic right now, and when you have a superstar like Luka, you don't need everybody trying to create their own shot. You need guys who can space the floor. You need guys who can defend. You need guys who understand their role. And that is why these forward targets are so important. Because after losing in the playoffs, the biggest thing this Lakers roster needed was more size, more athleticism, and more two-way players on the wing. And that's why Jonathan Kuminga became such an interesting name. But the problem is the situation has become complicated. The Lakers and Kuminga have not been able to find the right contract number, and because of the roster situation, Los Angeles might have to look at different options. And if they do, Cam Johnson might be one of the best alternatives available. Because let's talk about what Cam Johnson would bring to this Lakers team. This dude is literally built to play next to Luka Doncic. Luka is one of the best passers in the NBA. So imagine having a forward who can constantly move around the court and punish defenses when they help off him. That changes everything. Because teams cannot just double Luka anymore. They cannot just collapse into the paint. Because if they leave Cam Johnson open, that is an automatic problem. Cam Johnson is a career-level shooter who has consistently been one of the better three-point shooters in the league. And that is something the Lakers desperately need. They need players who can make teams pay. Especially in playoff basketball when every possession matters. But what I like even more about Cam Johnson is he doesn't need 20 shots a night. He can impact the game without dominating the basketball. And that is exactly what you want next to Luka Doncic and Austin Reaves. You already have Luka controlling the offense. You already have Austin creating shots. You need guys around them who make their lives easier. And Cam Johnson does that. Now the question becomes, how would the Lakers actually get him? One possible trade idea would involve Jared Vanderbilt, Jaden Hardy, or Jake LaRavia. And a future draft pick swap. Now I know Lakers fans love Vanderbilt because of his defense and energy. But we also have to be realistic. The Lakers need players who can stay healthy and contribute consistently. And if you can turn that roster spot into a starting level forward who gives you shooting and playoff value, that is something you have to consider. But here is where things get interesting. Because Christian Braun is another name that could make sense. And this one is a completely different type of move. Because Christian Braun is not Cam Johnson. He is not coming in to be your elite shooter. He is coming in to bring toughness, athleticism, defense, and versatility. And honestly, that is something the Lakers have been missing. Braun is the type of player who can guard multiple positions. He can run the floor. He can attack closeouts. He can play without needing the ball. And when you have Luka Doncic, those types of players become extremely valuable. Because Luka creates so many open opportunities for teammates. But the question with Christian Braun is the contract. Because he recently signed a big extension. And when you are paying a player that much money, you need him to be more than just a role player. That is where the risk comes in. Because if Braun reaches his potential, then this could look like a steal. But if he stays around the same production level, then teams might question that contract. And that could actually create an opportunity for the Lakers. Sometimes the best trades are not always getting the biggest name. Sometimes it is buying low on a player who still has upside. And Christian Braun could be that type of player. But if I'm Rob Pelinka and I'm making this decision, I'm taking Cam Johnson. And here's why. The Lakers already have defensive players. They already have guys who can bring energy. What they need next to Luka is shooting. They need spacing. They need somebody who can punish teams for helping off Luka. Because the biggest weakness with this Lakers roster has been when teams load up against their stars. Cam Johnson helps fix that immediately. Imagine a lineup with Luka Doncic, Austin Reaves, Cam Johnson, Jared Vanderbilt type defense replaced by more offensive production, and Walker Kessler protecting the paint. That is a lineup that makes sense. That is a lineup built for playoff basketball. Because now you have offense. You have size. You have shooting. And you have a defensive anchor inside. Now obviously this is just a hypothetical trade idea. The Nuggets would have to actually be willing to move one of these players. And Denver might not want to give away Cam Johnson because he is valuable to their team. Especially next to Nikola Jokic. But if the Lakers are looking for another way to upgrade the roster, these are the type of conversations they need to be having. Because the championship window with Luka Doncic is right now. You cannot waste years hoping everything magically works out. You have to put the right players around your superstar. And Cam Johnson might be one of those perfect fits. So Lakers Nation, let me know. Would you rather trade for Cam Johnson? Or would you rather take a chance on Christian Braun? Because both players bring something different. One gives you elite shooting. The other gives you defense and athleticism. But if it was my decision, I'm choosing the guy who gives Luka the most space to dominate. And that is Cam Johnson. Let me know your thoughts down below. Make sure you subscribe because we got all the latest Lakers rumors, updates and trade news coming your way.